The ballroom of the Seoul Grand Sapphire Hotel shimmered like a scene pulled straight from a hit melodrama as hundreds of guests, fans, and media representatives filled the hall, eagerly awaiting the first public appearance of newlyweds Yulong and Mie Mie after their star-studded wedding. It had been less than 48 hours since the ceremony mesmerized Asia with its dreamy lights, elegant hanbok-inspired bridal gown, and the emotional vow exchange that trended in 5 countries. Tonight's event was introduced simply as a post-wedding appreciation gathering, a warm, intimate moment designed for Yulong and Mie Mie to thank fans who had supported their whirlwind romance. No one suspected that beneath the soft glow of the chandeliers, secret was waiting to burst forth like a hidden ember ready to ignite the entire room. The hall buzzed with excitement. Fans wearing coordinated outfits, some in white like the bride, some in black like the groom, filled the front rows. Banners with glittery calligraphy, "Forever your fans, long may couple. Happiness always." Camera crews swarmed around the back, adjusting their angles, mindful not to miss anything. Journalists whispered predictions to one another. Maybe they'll announce a honeymoon project, or a joint drama. Maybe they'll reveal behind-the-scenes photos from the wedding. Their guesses remained light, casual, rooted in the belief that tonight would be nothing more than a feel-good, tear-filled hour of romance and gratitude. But even as the musky scent of fresh hydrangeas and jasmine diffused into the air, a subtle heaviness began to wrap around the venue. No one noticed it yet. It sat quietly between the folds of the velvet curtains, hidden beneath the polished smiles of staff, waiting for its moment. When the lights dimmed and the soft instrumental version of their wedding entrance song played, fans screamed with uncontrollable excitement. Then, through a parting in the curtains, the couple finally stepped out, hand in hand, glowing, gentle, impossibly serene. Mie Mie wore a pastel silk dress embroidered with faint silver threads that shimmered whenever she moved. Her hair fell in soft waves, framing her delicate face. Yulong stood tall beside her in a classic black suit without a tie, giving him an effortlessly elegant look. When he tightened his hold on her hand and she smiled shyly, the room erupted in shrieks. They waved, bowed, and approached the center of the stage, their steps perfectly in sync. The giant LED screen behind them displayed a montage of wedding photos, some official, some candid, each one sparking new waves of cheers. Fans gasped when they saw the photo of Mie Mie wiping a tear during her vows. They giggled when Yulong lifted her veil in a burst of laughter. And when the final slide appeared, a simple white text saying "Thank you for supporting our love," the entire hall melted in adoration. The host welcomed them with warm applause. "Congratulations once again, Yulong SSI. Mie Mie SSI. Everyone here has been dying to celebrate this moment with you." The couple bowed again, flushed with happiness. They exchanged a brief, soft glance that made fans squeal. Their chemistry radiated effortlessly, calm, tender, genuine. The event began with light-hearted stories. They shared their thoughts about the wedding day, teasing each other about mishaps that fans had never heard. Yulong confessed he had nearly tripped on his own shoes walking toward the altar, causing the hall to roar with laughter. Mie Mie admitted she had almost cried off her makeup before the ceremony, earning affectionate sighs. The air was warm, joyful, uncomplicated. It felt like a celebration of love, a continuation of the fairy tale wedding Asia was still talking about. But somewhere beneath that sweetness, something else lingered. It was in the way Mie Mie occasionally looked at Yulong for reassurance. It was in the way Yulong's thumb stroked the back of her hand nervously during pauses in conversation. And it was in the way both avoided certain questions from the host, laughing them off too quickly. To most, these were just quirks of newlyweds. But to a few attentive eyes, especially the reporters seated closest to the stage, it was as though a thin thread of tension ran beneath their smiles. As the Q&A session began, fans eagerly held up their question cards. "Where will you honeymoon?" a fan asked. "Anywhere you want to see together," another shouted. Those were expected, gentle questions. The couple answered each one politely, their voices overlapping occasionally, drawing soft giggles from the crowd. But even so, an unspoken weight hovered around them, the thick air before a storm. Then came the moment when everything shifted. The host invited the couple to share any closing words of gratitude. The LED screen behind them faded to a warm amber tone, tiny sparkles rotating slowly like drifting fireflies. The atmosphere softened. Some fans already had tissues in hand, preparing for an emotional ending. Tears of joy. Heartfelt appreciation. Perhaps a surprise serenade. Yu Long lifted the microphone. He didn't smile. His expression softened. But not on the familiar way fans recognized from his dramas or interviews. Instead, there was a kind of seriousness in his gaze. And gentleness burdened by something unspoken. The hall quickly quieted, sensing a change. He looked at Mie Mie. And she looked right back, eyes deep, soft, and a little tense. She squeezed his hand. He nodded. A silent conversation passed between them. One that took less than a second but felt weighted with meaning. Yu Long turned back to the audience. When he spoke, his voice was calm. But it carried a tremor. There is something we want to share with you today. The room froze instantly. Fans straightened in their seats, eyes wide. Reporters instinctively brought recorders closer. Mie Mie inhaled deeply, lifting her microphone. Her voice was gentle but filled with emotion. Something very important to us, she said. It's glistening under the lights. And it's something we didn't plan to reveal so soon. The audience murmured. What was happening? Why did they look so emotional? This was supposed to be a happy thank you event. Yet the air had shifted so dramatically that even the music seemed to dim with tension. Yu Long took a breath. We didn't want to hide it from you forever, he continued. You've supported us through everything. You deserve to know the truth. A wave of whispers rippled through the crowd. Fans exchanged confused glances. Some clutched their banners nervously. Those watching the live stream from home felt a sudden tightening in the atmosphere. It was no longer the bright, full celebration it had been 5 minutes ago. Something monumental was coming. Something no one had predicted. Mie Mie's fingers trembled slightly as she held the microphone closer. Her voice, though soft, weight that silenced every last sound in the ballroom. This truth will change everything. Gasps echoed. Camera shutters clicked rapidly. The LED lights flickered like faint sparks. The air grew impossibly still. Before the host could say anything. Before fans could form a coherent thought. Before reporters could even blink. Yu Long tightened his grip on Mie Mie's hand and said with unwavering resolve. We have a confession. The lights dimmed. A collective gasp filled the hall. And the world held its breath. For a moment, the world inside the ballroom felt suspended in silence, so complete, so heavy, that even the soft hum of the ceiling light seemed to fade away. The audience was unable to move, unable to blink. Breaths halted at the couple's final words, we have a confession. The LED backdrop behind them dimmed into a subtle twilight hue, leaving only the spotlight on the newlyweds, as if the universe itself was narrowing its focus on the truth they were about to unveil. It was so palpable that some fans instinctively reached for the hands of the people next to them, gripping tightly as though bracing themselves. Mie Mie swallowed hard, the gleam in her eyes turning fragile. Yu Long gave her hand a reassuring squeeze, his thumb tracing soft circles over her knuckles. When he lifted the microphone again, the tremor in his voice, usually so steady, so charismatic, was unmistakable. We didn't expect to say this today, he began slowly, each word dripping with weight. But it's something very dear to our hearts. And after the love we've received these past few days, we realized we owe you honesty. The hall was still. Even the journalists, usually quick to murmur, exchanged glances, were frozen like statues. The gravity in his voice shattered any lingering assumption that this was a simple announcement. Something profound, something life-altering, was about to unfold. Mie Mie took a breath that quivered slightly. When she spoke, her voice was soft, quaking, filled with earnestness. We made a decision, before our wedding. Paused, eyes shimmering. A decision we kept private because we weren't ready for the world's response. A woman in the front row gasped audibly. Several fans clutched their chests. The tension was unbearable, like the slow build in a melodrama right before the truth crashes down with devastating force. Yu Long continued, his tone more vulnerable than anyone had ever heard from him. Before our wedding, we became parents. All exploded with a collective inhalation, so sharp it echoed. For a split second, no one even processed a meaning. Then the realization crashed over the room like a tidal wave. Screams erupted. Some fans burst into tears instantly. Others covered their mouths in shock. Reporters shot to their feet, hands trembling as they scrambled to capture every word. The audience fractured into chaos, shock, or disbelief, joy, all blending into a storm of raw emotion. His voice, gentle yet steady with conviction. Through the noise. We adopted a little girl. She's 3 years old. Tears welled in her eyes. But they glistened with pride, not fear. She's been with us quietly for months. She's our daughter. She's part of our family. The explosion of sound grew even louder. Fans sobbed openly. Some wailed in disbelief. Others clung to each other in overwhelmed joy, crying into one another's shoulders. A young fan live streaming whispered breathlessly through tears. Believe this. This is beautiful. Oh my god. Oh my god. Within seconds. The live stream comments were flooding in. What? They adopted? This is huge. Crying. The media descended into frantic chaos. Flashes burst like 1,000 tiny fireworks. Reporters raised their microphones high, shouting questions that dissolved into the surrounding noise. The outlet knew instantly that this was the kind of revelation that would dominate headlines across Asia. Yu Long raised a hand gently, signaling for calm. But even then, his eyes glistened with emotion as he tried to steady his breathing. "I want the public to judge her," he explained. "She's innocent. She didn't choose the spotlight. And we wanted to protect her until we were ready." Mie Mie nodded vigorously, her voice cracking. "Promised each other that we would give her a safe start, a home with warmth and stability. We didn't want her name out on the world before she was ready. Before we were ready." The sincerity in their words softened the chaos. Melted into muffled sobs. Even photographers lowered their cameras, moved by the tenderness in the couple's voices. Then the LED screen behind the couple flickered to life, not with their wedding photos, but with a single image, a blurred-out silhouette of a small child, holding the hands of two adults from behind. The caption read, "Our family." That was all it took. The ballroom erupted into emotional devastation. Fans screamed with joy. Some cried uncontrollably. Sweetness, the weight, the unexpectedness of the revelation shattered the room's composure entirely. Emotional dam broke. As reactions surged, one fan collapsed into her seat, overwhelmed, while friends frantically fanned her. Another fan sobbed into her banner, whispering, "So proud of them." Even security guards at the back exchanged quick, stunned glances, unsure whether to remain stoic or react with the same astonishment swirling around them. Yu Long's voice softened. "Is our daughter in every way," he said firmly, eyes shining. "Blood doesn't define family. Love does." Fans screamed again, this time not in shock, but in love. Deep, overwhelming love. They looked out at the crowd with tear-filled eyes. "We hope you'll welcome her into your hearts too, even if you never see her face." Words trembled with sincerity, vulnerability, quiet strength. "She is the biggest blessing of our lives." Erupted into applause. Thunderous. Endless. Some fans even stood, bowing toward the couple. The display of respect was so moving it sent a shiver through the hall. Yu Long pressed a hand over his heart. Emotional beyond words. Mie Mie wiped her cheeks with her fingers, smiling through tears. The host, visibly shaken by the revelation, barely forgot her lines, taking a moment to gather herself. This is truly unprecedented," she finally whispered into the mic, voice trembling. "Thank you for trusting all of us with something so precious." The event continued. The couple shared snippets of their life with their daughter, how she liked strawberries. She refused to go to bed without hugging Mie Mie. How she clung to Yu Long's shirt whenever strangers came near. These small details deepened the collective heartbreak in the room. It was intimate, vulnerable, beautiful. Reporters wiped their eyes discreetly, torn between professionalism and being moved by the story. One journalist whispered, "I've covered celebrity news for 15 years, and I've never seen anything like this." Meanwhile, across social media, news detonated. On Weibo, hashtags exploded instantly. Yu Long Mie Mie child, Long Mie family. Surprise adoption announcement, each climbing millions of views in minutes. On Instagram, fan pages posted teary reaction videos. Captions like "Protect their daughter at all costs" flooding the feed. On TikTok, edits of the reveal moment went viral. Emotional OST tracks, gaining millions of views. Even celebrities began reacting. Fellow actors reposted the announcement with heart emojis. Idol groups sent congratulations. Directors and screenwriters praised the couple's courage. Renowned actress commented, "What a beautiful decision. They deserve all the love." Inside the ballroom, The energy softened into something warm and glowing. The couple bowed deeply, once, twice, then a third time. Each bow carried the weight of gratitude, humility, and love. The applause thundered for a full minute, echoing like rolling waves through the hall. A voice, soft and trembling, said, "Thank you for accepting us, not just as actors, but as parents." Yu Long smiled, the kind of smile that comes from a heart overflowing. "Tonight, you all became part of our family," he said. "Thank you for giving us courage." As the final music began to play, the couple intertwined their fingers and walked off stage. They didn't look back, not because they were turning away, but because they walked forward with unwavering confidence, carrying the blessing of thousands behind them. The hall watched in silent awe as they disappeared through the curtains, two artists, two lovers, parents, united in a truth that had just rewritten everything the world knew about them. Outside, fans poured into the Seoul night with trembling hands, tear-stained faces, and hearts full of something indescribably warm. They had come to celebrate love. Witnessing history. The revelation no one saw coming became the moment no one would ever forget.